Alex and welcome back to my YouTube channel where I chat about the things that I've been sewing and knitting and making each month. Actually, that's probably a lie this week because I haven't got any sewing, but I have got plenty of knitting to show you. So yeah, so I'll show you what I've been working on. And the first thing, I'll jump straight in and show you a punch needle piece that I've been working on. So this is not knitting but still fibery related, and as you can see, I'm just doing like a really simple design. It's totally improvised. I didn't use a pattern or anything. I just drew around a plate that fit. I used, for the punch needle sort of frame, I used an embroidery hoop. So I used a plate that just sort of fit in that space, and I've done a smaller circle and a little semicircle here using some leftover yarn I had. Those of you with a good eye might notice that this is Earthy, which is the Fiberco Law yarn that I used for my, what was that sweater called? I think it was called Dove Cottage. It was a pattern with like a slight kind of mock neck finish, but yeah, that was the yarn that I'm using for the edge. And yeah, I've just been I don't know, I did that in like an afternoon on Saturday, and yeah, I've just got the edge to finish. I'm using this, don't know what you'd call it. It looks a bit like the kind of fabric you'd use if you're doing counted cross stitch, but it's much heavier. It's more like a kind of Hessian weight. And yeah, I had that left over. I did a class with Lucy of Peas and Needles a couple of summers ago, and yeah, I had some materials left over, so I've got some more of this material and the punch needle that you use. So I did a little bit of a refresher on YouTube. I checked out Aroha from Buku, I think it's her brand. She's got a beautiful punch needle book, and she actually has a YouTube video that she did for she has a paid class that you can do on one of the platforms. Can't remember if it's maybe Creative Bug or I think it might be called Blueprint now. It could have even been Skillshare, one of the platforms that does kind of educational crafty content. She has a whole workshop on how to do punch needle, and yeah, so I kind of use that as a refresher. But really, if you've done punch needle before, you'll know it's super simple. Once you know which way to thread your needle, which is the bit I needed to check out and have a refresher on, you just kind of poke your punch needle through the holes, kind of an even distance apart. I think I literally did this in every hole, and yeah, and it has a really cool effect. I'm using this, actually I could show you with my cup so you get an idea of the scale. Can you see it's kind of like 2 cups worth? This is my Julia Smith mug, if you like that, and I'm going to use this as a rug for one of my plants. So yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm really pleased how it turns out. I've just used some leftover yarn. So this is the Fiberco Law, so is this, and the yellow. The only one that's different is this is Aran Moore, which is got a little bit of that left, which you can see is these really, really fun, like little pink specks in the yarn. This is like a really beautiful tweedy yarn that they have made in Ireland, which I love. So I had a little bit of that I was able to use. I think it's a nice colour palette. It works really well together. So yeah, all I need to do is keep going. I'm sort of just folding over the edge of the hem. I cut it evenly all the way around, so just folding that in half, and then, do you call that like a whip stitch going all the way around? Just using a needle like this. I don't know if I'll show, but just using a kind of thick needle. And yeah, that's going really well. So if you want to have a go at needle punching, the supplies are really, they're quite inexpensive. The needle punch, you can get expensive needle punches, but the one I have I don't think is an expensive one, and I've just used an embroidery hoop, as I said, just to get started. It's not, I think if I was going to do it all the time, or even do a bigger project, it'd be really nice to invest in some better tools and have a proper frame, because it does slip a bit. I have to keep tightening the frame because you're putting quite a lot of pressure to punch the yarn through the holes. So I might invest in something a bit better, but just for like a one-off project like this, I didn't need anything fancy. And even like the yarn, you'd probably usually use a thicker, more like a bulky weight yarn, but I really like the effect that I got with this. It's got a really nice loopy, ruggy feel, and it feels lovely. I'll show you the back so you can see what it looks like on that side as well. Some people use the back as the actual finished texture, but I think this is the side that you're supposed to traditionally use. But obviously, with creative things, you can use whichever side you want. So yeah, so that's turned out really nicely. And apart from that, then yeah, all I've got is knitting content. I haven't got any other sewing bits today, so I'll start off by showing you what I'm wearing. And I can't remember I had this on the needles when I spoke to you last, but this is using another Fibre Company yarn. It's a very Fibre Company heavy podcast today. Will that show up? It's the Canopy Fingering, which is, let me see, 50% alpaca, 30% wool and 20% viscose, which I think is from Bamboo. And it's a gorgeous, luxurious yarn. I'll stand up so you can see. It's got just really simple ribbed cuff and ribbed hem. Oh, just lost the light a little bit. It's a really sunny day, but it's very cloudy, so it's kind of, the sun keeps popping in and out of the clouds. So it's kind of hard to see because it's black. But you can, if I tilt towards the light, it's got a ribbed neck, which has a lovely tubular cast on, which I used Fibre Company with the one sweater pattern, which is the pattern that I used to improvise this sweater. They have some tutorials with it, so I actually used the tutorial for the tubular cast on. And yeah, I pretty much followed, so yeah, I followed the one sweater pattern in terms of I used the same cast on, and I did the same sort of depth of ribbing for the neck, the cuffs, the hem. I did the same rate of increases, no, sorry, not increases, decreases, because this was top down. So I did the same rate of decreases for the sleeves, and I worked them until I'd got sort of to, I guess, the widest part of my arm. And yeah, I kept sort of increasing around the neck until I got to the point where I wanted to separate from the sleeves, which is just here. And yeah, but it is an improvised sort of sweater because the one sweater original pattern used a worsted weight yarn, and this is a much finer gauge. I was getting 22, do they say if it's, yeah, they call it a fingering weight, this. So I was getting 22 stitches for 4 inches, which is much finer gauge than the pattern calls for. And also the sweater, it's not oversized, but it has a more kind of loose, relaxed fit. And I wanted this to be quite a form-fitting sweater. The kind of idea behind this was when I was kind of researching what things I wanted to make this year, was I wanted like the little black cashmere sweater. So this doesn't have any cashmere in it, it's kind of got that kind of vibe. It's a really luxurious fabric, and yeah, it's got that kind of neat finish, neat kind of look. So this is actually 1.5 inches of negative ease, whereas the original pattern, I can't remember, it might call for 2 inches of positive ease, to give you an idea. So yeah, I really went on how I wanted the fit to be and just kept, as I say, kept trying it on. So I got the split just right for me, and yeah, it worked out really well, so I'm really happy with the end result. And one thing I did do, or didn't do I should say, was remove any of the pills. So one of the things I thought I'd show you is how much pilling I've got. So you can kind of see on the sleeves and a little bit here, it kind of actually picks up and shows a little bit more on camera because you can kind of see the fuzzy edge. But this is after about 3 weeks of wear, and I've worn it fairly often. I haven't worn it every single day, but I've definitely worn it more than once a week, and I've had it on underneath my coat because it's been really cold, with my crossbody bag over the top. And yeah, so that's the kind of pilling that I've got. I was really worried that it would be really pilly. You know, you have certain things that it's like the second you put it on, it's just like covered in bubbles, and that wasn't the case with this, which was a relief. Although you can see it has started to pill now. We're kind of getting 3 weeks worth of wear, and I would probably have taken a comb to this and combed out the pills, but I wanted to show you so you had an idea of how much pilling to expect. But you can see it's only really on those areas where you get a lot of wear, so like under the kind of arms where your arms are brushing, obviously. But yeah, I think it's held up really well. I think it's got a really nice finish. The yarn gives a really clean, neat look around the kind of cuffs and the hem. And yeah, I think it's worked really well. As I say, I'll comb it to get rid of any pills, and I always do that with my sweaters anyway. I don't know if you've got like just a really inexpensive comb, works wonders on all your knits. If you keep brushing those bubbles off, they will eventually stop because it's just like all the loose little bits of fibre rise to the surface and you get them balling on the top. But that doesn't go on forever. If you do keep combing them off, you'll eventually find that your jumpers stop pilling. So that's a great way to keep them looking nice and fresh, is just getting one of those combs to keep your knits looking fresh. So that's what that's my sweater that I've finished, and that's my only finished object. And I'll jump straight into showing you another sweater. So as soon as I cast that one off, I got this one. It was my birthday in January, so I had some birthday money and wanted to treat myself to a new sweater cast on, and I chose the Pheasant Pullover by Amy Christophers. And yeah, it's a colourwork yoke, which the sun's popped out, which is brilliant because you can see really nicely all the lovely coloured details. And this is knit using the exact same colours and the yarn called for in the pattern. It's Jameson and Smith's. Let me show you the ball so that's what it looks like. I purchased this from Meadow Yarn, which is an online seller here in the UK, but I'm pretty sure that they ship worldwide. And yeah, I'm really pleased. So that's the yoke, and to give you an idea, this is what the body will look like. It's this is the swatch I did, and yeah, I think the camera will probably pick it up. It's like, it's not a flat brown at all. It's got little flecks of green and blue. Yeah, slightly, almost like kind of beautiful red wine colour. But yeah, so it's going to look really nice when it's finished, I think. I love that it's not just like a flat colour. It almost picks up all the colours that are used in the yoke, actually. But yeah, I'm really excited to have this off the needles. Let's see which is the front, because you'll be able to see that it does have short rows, which I really like. So if you see at the front here, the colourwork pattern starts quite soon after doing the ribbing for the neck, but on the back there's short rows, so that just raises up that back and it will give it a really lovely fit when it's finished. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. And let me give you a look at the colours, because sometimes it's hard to see. There we go. So there's 4 colours. Oh no, dropped one. Where'd that go? So you've got the cream. I've got this, which is like a blue. It's like blue, teal, purple. It's a real mix, that one. You've got the kind of rusty orange and then a lilac. So I think it's sometimes a bit easier to see them side by side like that rather than looking at them in the yoke. But yeah, the designer, I think she's got a really good eye for colour, because these work really nicely in the yoke. So yeah, so that's coming along nicely. I've almost finished the yoke actually, and then it'll be great once I'm onto the body. I think I'll fly with that. And I really like using this kind of weight yarn. It's great for colour work, but it also, I think it will give a really nice sweater. My colourwork yoke sweater with the Lopi is so warm, and it's a really thick, dense fabric, whereas this I think will be much more suitable to wearing in winter, but wearing it inside. And it's it just gives a much finer fabric. So as you can see actually from my swatch, you can kind of see this. A nice loose sort of fine fabric, and I think that will be really comfortable to wear. I think it feels nice as well. It's a rustic, really sort of woolly yarn, but I could wear that. I would probably wear it still with a long sleeve top underneath, but actually I don't feel a lot of prickle. It's just not super soft. That's the nature of like a really woolly wool that has a bit of kind of texture to it. But I think it's really great if you want to kind of try a wool like this. See what it says. Yeah, it's real Shetland wool. So I think you can get much more scratchy wools than this. It's gonna, if you're used to using really super soft merino, then yeah, it's not gonna feel that soft. But I think for a wool of this type, I think it's going to be quite comfortable to wear. So really looking forward to having that off the needles. As I say, that's my birthday cast on, so it's that little bit special as well. And I've got that in one of my big sweater sacks that you can find in the shop if you want to have a look. Actually, if you're, I didn't mention the colours that I've used, so they all have funny like numbers and letters, so I'll put those in the show notes. Anything that I've talked about today, especially actually with this sweater, there was quite a lot of information there, that will all be in the show notes. So below this video I'll pop a link to my blog, which has got all the details of everything I chat about, all the yarn, the patterns, everything will all be in there. And actually, if you prefer, you can get those emailed to you. Lots of people are on my email list now, so thank you if you're one of those people that have signed up to get the show notes to your email inbox. But yeah, if you sign up below, you'll get an email every time a video goes live. I send out an email with all the links to everything I've mentioned in the episode, so you get it right there before you've even opened the video. You can see everything really clearly, and yeah, lots of people like doing that. So if you want that, get the link below and pop your details in there. So that's the other sweater. The only other thing I've got is I've got a couple of sock whips in my little, it's another one of my bags that I hand print and sew. If you're new here, you might not know that, but yeah, I have a shop where I sell accessories and knitting project bags where I print all the fabric on, it's all organic cottons, and yeah, that's in my shop as well. So I've got 2 sock whips because I was travelling this month and I needed something mindless. So I did finish this sock. This is the Feathering the Nest sock by Danielle George, and it's the wool barn in the, what's this called? Strawberries and Lavender, I want to say. I think it's Strawberries and Lavender in the luxury sock. Let's have a little look. There you go. That's what that looks like. And yeah, you guys know, if you've watched any episodes before, that this is like my go-to sock yarn of choice. I love Maya's beautiful speckled yarns. She has such a like delicate, beautiful wave of colours. This is the second sock that I've got on. As I said, I was travelling. I went up to Cumbria with the Fibre Company, who, if you don't know already, I work with the Fibre Company part-time, so I get to use their yarns, which is why you see me talk about them quite often, get to try out the yarns and the patterns, so that obviously I know how they knit up, and obviously you learn a lot about how a yarn behaves through working with it. So kind of one of the nice things that I get to try lots of the yarns, so you see me talk about those quite a lot. So, but this isn't a Fibre Company yarn, but I did do a trip up to Cumbria to spend some time with them, which is where that's why it came to mind, because I cannot do a pattern and talk at the same time. So I needed something like this, which was completely mindless. I've done a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which is probably not very obvious yet, but that's just a heel that I've done so many times. This is kind of almost like a sock recipe that I have memorised. So I did it toe up, I did my Fish Lips Kiss heel, and then I'm just going to have a really short cuff. I've got, you'll see, just this little bit of yarn left, and I can show you that I separated it into 2 balls. So this will be the first sock, and then I'll cast on this one. But yeah, it was a really, really easy travel project, because when I was on the train, it's a long journey up to Cumbria, and sometimes in some of the meetings, if I could, I would do a few rows as well. So it was a really, really nice project to have on the needles. And yeah, I love how Maya's yarns knit up. They just, as I said, they've got that beautiful, like lovely, delicate speckles. So yeah, so I separated my yarn, so even that was easy, because I knew that if I was kind of, I don't know, out and about or in a meeting and I'd got to the cuff, I just had to keep knitting until I ran out of yarn, basically. I didn't have to worry about weighing it or anything. So what I should have mentioned actually, because, oh, let me show you again, because people often comment about the balls, and I actually did a video showing you how I wind these small balls. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll pop that in the show notes as well. So that's it. I think that might be everything I've got. So the only other thing that I was going to show you was my plans. So I got, one of the things I brought home with me as a souvenir from my trip to Cumbria was this lovely Lore yarn that I'm going to turn into the, how do you say it? I've done the dove, so it's not dove, it's the Deep, that's it, Deep Moss Pot sweater by Carrie, I think her name's Carrie Helene Rain, and she designed a pattern for the Fibre Company, which is a beautiful yoke sweater using this colourway, which is Law in Heaven. This is a 100% Romney lamb's wool, which is really, really lovely. I used this for another sweater, but she designed a really beautiful textured yoke sweater for them. So yeah, it doesn't have any colour work in the yoke, but it's got a really beautiful texture that sort of comes down to, I think it actually comes right down to the armhole. So yeah, so that was my souvenir that I got to bring home with me after visiting the warehouse. But I'll show you that soon. I don't know how long it'll take me to knit my pheasant pullover, because it's quite fine yarn, but I do seem to be going quite quickly with that, so I don't know, maybe I won't have this, maybe I'll just be casting on when I come back to you next time. We'll have to see how quickly. I'm not really one to speed through my knitting, to be honest. I do like to enjoy it. I don't like to rush things. I kind of enjoy the process. Even with my colour work, you should see me, I'm not the fastest. I'm not like holding different colours in different hands. I drop the yarn when I like pick up the other colour. That's fine for me. I don't need to speed through it. I'm just really enjoying watching it grow, and yeah, that's kind of me. And you probably know that already, because you'll see that every episode I don't have like tons of things to show you. I just have a steady amount of the things that I carefully choose for my wardrobe. So I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, if you did like the video and you liked my makes, I'd love it if you could like the video below, and if you want to see more, subscribe, and then you'll get notified when a new video pops up, and we can keep in touch. But yeah, everything I've spoken about, obviously I've mentioned already. The link below for the show notes will be under this video, and it'll take you over to my blog or to the sign up if you want to get them straight to your inbox. And yeah, that's everything I've got to share with you this week, and I will see you again next month. Thanks for watching. Bye.